Hello world, this is Random Fix, and in this video today we're going to be talking about the OUPES portable power station right here. So this is pretty cool because it has a new lithium iron phosphate battery chemistry, which you definitely want. And I'm going to show you guys what I actually used this for last weekend, which was to go ahead and keep my Sprinter van warm using this tiny little heater here. And then I'm going to show you guys it working an air compressor that I have, and then we're going to try on both at the same time to see what happens. And then I'm going to cover with you guys these ports, some of the things that you should know about, and what's in the box. So let's go ahead and get the video started. So let me show you guys what this actually came with, and it was very well protected. I didn't have any damage to the unit when it arrived, and it arrived within a few days. So good job to the seller on that. Currently this is selling for about $550 or $540, and there's a $150 off coupon. So this is the box that it came in, and it was nicely packaged inside these two foam protective enclosements right here, and it came with two other boxes right here. So the very first box included the car charger, which we're going to go ahead and try out, and this is an 8mm port right here. So I'll have links to anything that you can use in the video description box below as well. And the other one included the AC adapter. So this is a 100-watt AC adapter. We're going to go ahead and plug this in, and I have a little watt meter right here so we can actually see how much power is going in. And then it included some sort of instruction manual with some specs and a warranty card. So that's what it comes with, guys. Let me show you guys the actual unit now. So the unit is right here, and we're going to turn it on, currently at 97%. And let me go over the back side first. So on the back we actually have a light here, and this is going to be a really good light. So you want to get a light that is kind of spread out, so if you're using it in your camper van and a tent, you don't get that little tiny light, which is not going to have good range and good disbursement. So we got a solid light. It's got a higher setting here. It's got a strobe feature, and it's got off. Pretty simple settings. This weighs about 15 to 16 pounds. I weighed it, so the weight is not bad on here because it does pack a lot of punch. Currently it's advertised at 595 watt hours, which is pretty good for a unit this size. And again, the main thing that you want to pay attention to is not really the watt hours, which are important, the battery chemistry. Because in my Sprinter van right here, I've spent probably $4,000 just on the batteries, and if I would have known, I probably would have made my decision a little bit differently because it's very complicated. I have to have a lot of different components, which I'm going to cover with you guys. So this has most of those components built in, and it's contained in a small package like that. So pretty great. So let me show you guys the very front right here. So we have two AC ports, and these are rated at 600 watts. I'm not sure if that's combined or not, but we're going to go ahead and push it the limit over here a little bit. And then we have DC ports right here. So this is going to be your cigarette lighter out right here, and you got two barrel style, I think those are 5mm connections right there. They call them 2020 ports, I think. And then we have a total of three other ports right here, and these are the ports you normally want to use. You want to try to use the 12-volt DC to DC power, just because it's a lot more efficient than the 120-volt setup here. And so we got a 60-watt connection right here on a type USB-C. So this is what your MacBook uses. The Nintendo Switch uses this. Some of the new Android phones use this. And we have two 18-watt Qualcomm QC connections right here, which are pretty cool. And then on the side we have the input. So this can go ahead and take an input in from 12 to 30 watts. So if you're using a solar panel, you don't have to really worry about it. Even a 12-volt solar panel, which I got on top of my vehicle here, and these are really inexpensive these days, guys. So you can get a 100-watt panel for less than $100 these days. So I got these two solar panels here, and they're monocrystalline, and they cost me less than $200, and that included all the hardware and stuff. So pretty inexpensive. If you guys are considering solar, avoid the little tiny 10 and 20 watt panels, as they're not going to really give you what you need. So this little connection, so let's go ahead and put in the AC. So let's go ahead and connect the AC power here. And with the AC power plugged in, currently we're taking in 99 watts of input, and that's what this is showing too. So it's pretty accurate on the DC side right here. So if you have a solar panel, you could put a solar panel in here up to 100 watts, and all you have to do is make a connector, which I'll include a link to in the video box below. And I do want to thank the manufacturer from Oupes for sending me this unit. But as a little tip to them, if you guys can start including in some of these basic connections, so we can go ahead and go right through the solar panel instead of having to jerry rig the cigarette lighter, that would be such a big help. Because a lot of times we don't know what these connections are really called. So I happen to know just because I've been playing around with this, but this can get kind of confusing. Again, this is an 8mm connection. I'll have a link to it in the video box down below. And one other thing that's really cool is you can go ahead and charge this using USB-C. So this is just a power brick here from a Nintendo Switch for my kids. And I'm going to unplug the power adapter there for a second. And now we're actually charging the unit using the Nintendo Switch USB-C connector right there. And we're showing 42 watts here, 37 watts here. So that's pretty cool. So this is a bi-directional USB-C, and this is up to 60 watts. So this is a lot of power just through this one little tiny port. And next we have these two 18-watt ports down here. So the output is actually displayed right up here, and the amount of time you have remaining is down here. So this shows 27 hours if I kept all these accessories on. So having the AC inverter on takes away power. Having the DC out takes away power. So if all I needed is the USBs, that's all I would want to go ahead and turn on. Now let's go ahead and try this out on the vehicle. And one thing to keep in mind, whenever you're trying to charge something like this that can take in 100 watts of power through the side connection right here and 60 watts through the USB-C right here, you're going to be limited in the car by the fuse rating. So even though this is a great option to have, guys, it would be really nice if they went ahead and included something so we can hardwire this into the vehicle, and that way we can go ahead and really maximize the output of the vehicle's alternator. So let's go ahead and try this out now, see how this works. This plugged in. Okay, so I'm in the car now. I have the cigarette lighter. It's plugged into my vehicle here, and I'm gonna go ahead and connect it here. And this is what I was saying. So check this out. This will actually charge above 60 watts per hour, which is pretty impressive for a vehicle. It's a little slow when it first starts out, but we're over 60 watts now, and it's sitting at 68, 70 watts just using the cigarette lighter. So pay attention to that. Your vehicle's USB-C port right here can also charge this. So this is my vehicle's USB-C port right there, and if I go ahead and plug that in, that will help charge it as well, which is pretty cool. And if you ever have a low water situation, pay attention to the cable, because not all the cables that you buy out there are created equal. So this one right here can only charge at 2 watts, where this one charges a lot faster. So I'm in my camper van, guys. I want to show you something really quick. If you didn't want to go with a simple setup like that, you're going to have to deal with something like this. So this is a lot more complicated. It's a lot more money. I have a DC to DC charger right here, and then I need a battery shunt to go ahead and see how much energy I'm using. There's fuses to deal with. There's big batteries down there to deal with, and also in the rear of the vehicle, I had to install inverters. So yes, having that portable power station with the inverter, the converter, everything built in, including that MPPT charger, really helps out, guys. It'll make your job a lot easier if you're just looking for a simple setup. Now that we've tried some of the different ports on the portable power station here from OUPES, let's go ahead and try out some of the main components, which is going to be this AC power port right here. We're going to go ahead and turn it on by pushing this little button right here. You'll see a little AC indicator right there. We're going to plug this in, and this right here is going to be the little tiny heater that I love, guys. This thing's pretty cool, as it only takes about 200 watts once it's stabilized. So when you first turn it on, you're going to see the power spike to about 300 watts, and then it lowers down to 200 watts. But if you're gone camping somewhere, guys, and you don't want to turn on the Mr. Buddy heater in your camper van, you don't want to install any kind of permanent diesel heater or anything else like that, because it's very expensive, takes a lot of work. Something like this can keep you warm in some of the colder times in your van. Pretty cool. I wish I had found this earlier, because I would have not played around with my diesel heater as much, because I would have just used the electric 200 watt heater here. So it's stabilized here, guys, at 210 watts coming out. So right now, if this was to continue, this could go ahead and last me 2.5 hours. So if I was really cold, I could go ahead and keep this on for 2.5 hours. That's just pretty cool, because even one of those little portable heaters, those canisters, they last about 2 to 3 hours, and then you're worried about fire safety, carbon monoxide, all kinds of little things like that. So I like the electric approach a lot better, and this is actually really hot. So now we're going to go ahead and turn on the AC compressor to see what happens when we run that, to see if we're going to get any kind of error codes. I'm going to go ahead and let this run, see what happens for a little while. Alright, guys, so I went ahead and actually let that go ahead and charge all the way up. So the pressure on that is at 100 psi, and I did not get any error messages. And as far as the heater's still nice and hot, and it's showing 2.3 hours, and the charge fell down to 91%. So just wanted to keep you guys up to date with that. Now is my favorite part of the video, which is we're basically going to go ahead and give this a random fix tool grade. So we're going to go ahead and look at some important information, such as, is there any glitches, the display, how does it feel? We're going to go ahead and rate all that from 1 to 10, and then we're going to give this a random fix score. So stay tuned. Now comes my favorite part of the video, guys, which is actually giving this a random fix score right here, a tool score. So we're going to go ahead and base this on about 10 different components, and the highest possible score is going to be a 10. So the very first thing is there any glitches? And for that, I went ahead and put down an 8, and I didn't give it a 10 for one reason, that I sometimes just want to keep the display on, so the display just keeps turning off. So for that, I deducted 2 points. For the display itself, I actually gave it 7 out of 10, just because of that same reason, that I can't really view the display as I like. Instead, it just keeps turning off. And the third criteria is the feel. So I gave this a 7 out of 10, and the reason is the branding on this device actually is very little. So I don't know if this is a repackaged good or whatever it is. Criteria number 4, price per watt hour. So currently I'm actually marking this as the final price of $389, and it's 595 watt hours, so we get 65 cents per watt hour. So this is actually a really good unit for the price as far as watt hours go. And the only reason I didn't give it a higher score than 7, guys, is because there's other brands out there like Blue Yeti, which are pretty close at 69 cents. So 7 out of 10 is still great. battery type, I went ahead and gave this a 10. Since this is a lithium iron phosphate battery, the cycles on this is a lot better than a regular lithium battery. And depending on how you take care of it and how much you charge and discharge, these can last thousands of cycles. And is there an app for this? It gets a 0 because there's no app for this. Connectors included, I gave it a 5 out of 10 because I only got the cigarette lighter. I didn't get anything else. So I wish, they started including in these XT60 connectors and also places for the MC4 connectors for the solar to go in, so we don't have to jerry rig our own little connectors like this versus us having to order it, get other packaging. So it would just be a lot easier. For charging options, I gave this 8 out of 10, and the reason it got such a high score is because we can go ahead and charge it through the input right here, which the solar could go into too, and it has that bi-directional USB-C connector with 60 watts of input, which is really great. So you can basically charge at 160 watts. So to make it a complete 10, guys, they would need something else too on the side, so we can go ahead and put in solar. For charging wattage, I gave it a 7 out of 10, and the reason is because some of the brands like the EcoFlow, those things charged up at a crazy wattage. I remember it was over like 1,000 watts per hour, and an hour and a half it was like 80% charged. So I was quite impressed with that. This can charge at 100 and the 60, so we got 160 total here, which is still good. If the wattage was higher, it just means we can hit the road faster in case we forgot to charge it. And the very last criteria here is going to be pricing. On pricing, I actually gave it an 8 out of 10, and the reason is, guys, this is on sale for $389, which is a great deal. You get a lot of watt hours, a lot of things are included, everything's built in. You got a very efficient MPPT charger in here. You have the USB-C connector here. We got lots of accessories, and I did not see any glitches in this. Even when operating the heater and also the air compressor, which surges at first and sometimes causes faults in some of these units. So it held up to that. There's a couple of bonus criteria that I've included on this tool ranking, and one of them is going to be Wi-Fi. This has no Wi-Fi, so it's not going to get any points for that. If it has a boost function like the EcoFlows, that would be great. Overall, we have a solid 67 out of 100. So this still is going to be a great value if you guys are looking for a solar generator. And I'm sorry about the branch being here in the way. I happen to live in California, and there's just construction everywhere. So I had to come to my backyard to go ahead and finish up this video. So I appreciate you guys watching. Please leave your questions below. I'll have a link to this in the video box down below. Overall, very solid unit, and I look forward to answering your questions. If you guys are new to the channel, please consider subscribing, and I really appreciate you guys taking the time to enjoy the video. Thanks again. Hey everybody, thank you so much for checking out the video. I really appreciate you guys watching this video here on the portable power station, and it got a great score of 67 out of 100. It's really hard to get into the 70s and 80s on these scoring factors because what some devices make up for in score, others make up for practicality and also pricing. And at $389, you can't actually go wrong with this. Again, price per watt hour is almost unbeatable, and did not see any glitches.